Okay, so we're gonna talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Now I'm gonna read through. There's a one chapter in the Bible that gives all the details we need to know. So I'm gonna read through it. We're not gonna cover every last thing, but we're gonna get all the major details. But I want to ask y'all up front, what do y'all know about Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, what was the main thing that happened, and why did it happen? Anybody? I don't care who. Well, tell me the thing that happened. What happened?
Didn't it burn down?
Just like it was just somebody lit it on fire? God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah. Yeah. There was a woman that turned into a pillar of salt. Okay, hold on, wait. I need somebody else to tell me why you think it happened, at least from what you've heard. Why did this happen? Why did God destroy the cities too of Sodom and Gomorrah? Caleb, why? Need y'all to listen. I mean, you raised your hand, so.
Well, they were like sitting and like rejecting God and turning to.
Hey, y'all listen, please. A lot of y'all are talking. Shh. Again, I'm trying. I don't want to get to the point of being mean, but I'm gonna, if y'all don't focus. What?
They were rejecting God and turning to idols?
Well, they did reject God, but for other reasons. They weren't idol worshiping. That wasn't their sin. Does anybody know? Make a guess.
They were gay.
Well, they were practicing the sin of homosexuality. That was a huge reason. But did y'all know it wasn't the only reason?
Wait, Hannah was right?
Yeah, that's part of it. And by the way, to clarify, and we're going to get into the story, being gay and practicing a gay lifestyle are two different things. Having an internal attraction and acting on it are not the same thing.
Really?
Yes. You can have an internal attraction or a temptation and not act on it, in which case you're honoring God. So there's also that element to it. Okay, but we're going to get into that because most people, Sodom and Gomorrah burned down and something about gay, and that's like it. But the Bible has a lot more to say about the whys and the particulars. So I want to get into this story. Now, before we read, it's in Genesis chapter 19. If you're taking notes, so just write down Genesis chapter 19 so you can go back and read it. Just that whole chapter up to verse 29 is the whole story right there. But so this is thousands and thousands of years ago. If y'all know the man in the Bible named Abraham, Father Abraham, how many sons? How many sons have Father Abraham? Okay, anyway, Abraham is a man of God thousands and thousands of years ago. This is early human history, okay? Abraham has a cousin, if I remember correctly, named Lot. And Lot and his wife and his kids and family are living in the city of Sodom. And God has told Abraham, listen, I'm going to destroy this city because of its wicked ways. Destroy it. Not like judge it and maybe send them things and then hopefully destroy it, level it, gone. I'm going to nuke it. And Abraham actually is scared because he's thinking about his cousin Lot. And so he begins asking God in chapter 18, I'm not going to read it, but y'all can go back and read it if you want to. And in Genesis chapter 18, Abraham starts asking God, okay, God, wait. You're telling me that you're going to destroy an entire city, the good and the bad people? God, you wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't destroy a city if there was good people in it. You wouldn't judge the righteous people with the unrighteous. He goes, so what if there was 50 people? If there was at least 50 people in Sodom and Gomorrah who are good people, meaning they follow you, they obey you. If there's at least 50 people, can you spare the city? Don't destroy it. And God says, okay, if there's at least 50 people, I will save the city. And then he asks again, well, what if there's 45? And then he keeps going down. It gets to the point where he's like, even if there's just 10 people there? Guys, 10 people in a city of thousands is basically nobody. Even Abraham knows how wicked this place is. Okay? But God tells Abraham, if I can find at least 10 people in this city that follow me and are righteous people, then I won't destroy it. As we all know, they did get destroyed. So how many people do you think God found in this city? Less than 10. In a city of who knows how many thousands. So that's pretty sad right there that God even gives them a chance to prove themselves, and they couldn't do it. But in Genesis chapter 19, verse 1, this is where we're going to start reading here tonight. And so God says he's gonna send some angels, and these angels are going to go into the city, and they're going to be looking for righteous people. And so in verse 1 it says, "And there came 2 angels at Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you," meaning he's like, come to my house, okay, let me take care of you. And he says, and turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and stay all night, and wash your feet, and then you can rise up early and go on your way. But they said, No, we will stay out in the streets all night. What are the angels doing? They're there on a special assignment from God to go and see. These angels, and here's what's so crazy, I don't know if you'll catch this. These angels, only Lot knows that they're angels. The rest of the people didn't think anything of it. So they had the appearance of regular dudes. And they were sent by God on an undercover operation, appearing as humans, to go and see, are there any righteous people living here? Isn't that kind of interesting that God would use angels that way? Hey, I need you to go do this for me. Like a secret assignment. It's an undercover assignment. Okay? It's pretty interesting, but God uses angels that way. And so Lot, for some reason, is the only one that can tell, probably because Lot himself is a righteous man. He picks up, these are angels. These are like God's servants, okay? And so he wants to be nice to them. He wants to do right to them. Shay, do you have a comment?
I just want to clarify something. What would y'all say a righteous person? How would you describe a righteous person?
Oh, thank you. That's a high compliment, but...
Like, are they a good or a bad person? They're a good person.
Well, what we mean is, because anybody can say that they're good,
Right.
but it's good by God's standards,
Yes.
meaning you follow God's word.
Yes.
Not you follow your own idea of goodness. You follow your own idea of what a good, but you follow God's ways, God's commands. So that doesn't mean a person is perfect, but it means that they're actively trying to follow God's commands. Okay, so now we got that. So the angels show up, and Lot's like, hey, come into my house, let me take care of you. They're like, no, we want to stay out here. But it says in verse 3, and he pressed upon them, and he kept begging them. He begged them greatly, and eventually they came into his house. And then it says, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Okay, so Lot's really trying to do good. He's trying to do the right thing. But he almost seems like he's scared of them staying outside at night. And y'all are about to see why that is. And in verse 4 it says, but before they lay down, meaning went to sleep, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both old and young. Doesn't tell us how young, by the way. Both old and young. And it says from every quarter. So every part of the city is having people show up. They're surrounding Lot's house. And it says, and they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are those men which came into your house this night? Bring them out unto us so that we can have sex with them. Whoa. Hold up. Whoa. Like, okay. Our country, as it is now, is already pretty perverted. Like, a lot of things are overly sexual as is. But I've never seen a scenario where you go and visit family in another state, another city, and you go there, and then everybody from the town comes to your doorstep and saying, we want to have sex with that person. Bring him out right now. That's another level of, like, deranged. These people are so out of control with their sexuality that they are literally just going to show up to your doorstep and demand to have the right to rape you. Like, that's where this city is at. Do y'all see how, like, evil this is? Like, put the homosexuality issue away. Imagine for a second if women showed up as guests to this city and it was men. It wouldn't change how evil this is. Y'all see the point? It's evil in and of itself. Okay, so these people have zero control, zero desire to restrain themselves. And that's how evil they are. That's where their hearts are at. Young and old. Young and old. And it really scares me to even think how young could they have been showing up to do this, following the example of these old people. Man, that's kind of scary to think about. So anyway, they show up to Lot's house and they're demanding to have sex with these, and they don't know that they're angels, by the way. All they know is that these look like regular dudes. So then it says in verse 6, and it says, and Lot went out to the door, and he shut the door behind him. He's trying to, like, address the crowd and get them to calm down. And look at what Lot does. This is kind of weird. The fact that he did this is wrong in and of itself. He says, He says, and he says in verse 7, he says, I pray you, I'm begging you, brothers, do not do this wickedness. Like, in other words, calm down. And he says in verse 8, he says, behold, I have 2 daughters which have never known a man. They're virgins. He says, can you instead, let me bring them out to you and do to them as you will. It says, but only to these men, don't do anything to them because I'm protecting them under my roof. Guys, what Lot did in offering an alternative is sinful. He should not have done that. But watch what the men say, the men of the city. They don't take the offer. Look at what they say. Look at what they say. They told Lot, stand back, get away from us. And they said about Lot, they said, this man, this sojourner, this outsider, he came into our city and he's going to make himself the judge of us? What are they saying? Who are you, Lot, to judge us and tell us that what we want is wrong? Who are you? You're just an outsider. You don't even belong here. You don't understand our culture. Who are you to judge us? That's what they're telling him. And then they threaten him. Look what they say next. And that says, we are going to deal worse with you than we're going to deal with those men in your house. This is evil on a level that I don't think any person in this room would ever even imagine experiencing in your own life. A whole mob of people who cannot be controlled. They're so out of control of their sexuality that they just show up to somebody's house and threaten to rape you, and if you stand in their way, they're going to be like, who are you to judge us? How many times does our culture say that about current sexual sin, any kind of sexual sin? Who are you to judge me? Who are you to tell me that I can't have sex outside of marriage? Who are you to judge me? Who are you to tell me I can't love who I want to love and sleep with who I want to sleep with? Who are you to judge me? Well, guys, the answer to that question is, I'm nobody, but I'm not your judge. God is. God's already told us that this behavior is wrong. It doesn't matter what we think about it. If God is the judge, and only God can judge you, guys, that should scare you if you're living in sin. If the next time a person, when you as a Christian are telling your friends, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, that God wouldn't want that for you, that's not God's best, and they go, who are you to judge me? You say, listen, how can you be so prideful? It's God who's going to judge you for that. Do you not realize you should be afraid of that? That God is going to be a perfect judge and He's not looking over any sin. He's not looking past it. He's going to hold you accountable for it. But these people of the city, what are they? They're prideful. No, they're like, who's going to judge us? You can't judge us. We're going to do what we want. We've determined this behavior is okay. And they're going to come to regret that pretty quickly. And so then in verse 10, it says, but the angels stuck out their hands and they pulled Lot into the house and they shut the door and they smote the men that were at the door with blindness, both small and great, so that they could not even find the door. These angels, by the way, have supernatural power as God gives them. So at a moment's notice, they're able to make these men blind so that they can't even see. Right? This is the work of God. You're an angel. You have that authority. They can just take away your sight if they need to. And then the men, the angels, said unto Lot, do you have anybody else here besides you? So son-in-law, your sons, daughters, and whoever else you know, whoever else is in your family, bring them out of here. And it says in verse 13, for we will destroy this place because the cry of them is great before the face of the Lord. The cry of justice. So many people in this city have been wronged and abused by these out-of-control people living here that God can no longer let the cry of justice go unanswered. So God is responding to the sin. He's saying, I'm not letting it go anymore. I've given this city long enough to do the right thing, and they have failed. The angels themselves, even though, yes, they were there to look for righteous people, not only did they fail to find even 10, but they were also personally sent. It says, God sent us to destroy this place. So the angels are on a secret assignment. Think of it like if y'all have ever heard of black ops or special operations in the military, where you get sent in discreetly to kill certain targets. These angels were sent in to do that. And so they're trying to extract Lot. They're trying to get Lot and his family to safety because even though Lot just offered his virgin daughters, which was wrong, overall, Lot and his family are people who follow God and try to do the right thing. Even though that wasn't right. That was extremely messed up. But putting that into perspective, so they said, you got to send your family out of here. And says, and so Lot goes and does this. He gets all of his family together, the ones who will listen to him. And then the angels tell him, like, you need to get out of here as quickly as possible. You need to go into the mountains. Okay, you need to go to the mountains as quickly as possible, but do not look back. Don't even look back at the destruction that's going to come on this city. And it's very important that they follow this instruction to not even look back. You be thinking, like, if you're running from a city that God is going to rain down fire on, you would kind of be tempted to, like, take in the scenery, wouldn't you? Like, okay, I want to see what happens. But they say, don't even look back. Don't even look back. And so it says, and so then Lot takes his family to safety. We're kind of jumping forward a little bit because, again, there's a lot of extra details here that you don't need to get the picture, okay? So, and in verse 23, so this is later on, Lot and his family are in safety. It says, the sun was risen up on the earth when Lot got to safety. And it says, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire out of heaven. So brimstone is like sulfur. If y'all have ever seen sulfur in your chemistry science class, it burns easily. Okay? I don't know if y'all ever know. Now you know that. So it rained down sulfur, which burns extremely hot. Okay? Raining down sulfur and fire from heaven. And then it says in verse 25, and he overthrew those cities and all the plains that they were in and all of the inhabitants of the cities. No survivors. That's how evil these people were. None of them God would spare. That's pretty evil. Not for God, that's evil, how evil these people were, right? So nobody survives, and it says not even the plants that grew upon the ground. Wow. And look what it says next. And it says, but Lot's wife looked back. As they're fleeing, they're in safety, Lot's wife looks back. And it says, and she became a pillar of salt. Now, you may be thinking, what? When did that become part of the deal? You look back. I mean, they were told not to look back, weren't they? But pillar of salt, that's like, what is that about? But before I want to give y'all the answer, but I want to ask y'all this question. Why do you think the angels told them not to look back? What do you think the reason was from God's perspective in telling them don't even look?
Because they were good people.
They're good people, but like, why wouldn't God want them to look? What's the problem with looking back?
Because if they were to look, they would want to go save everyone.
What kind of? I mean, you can't exactly save people when God's destroying them. It's like,
I know, but I'm saying that's what they would.
Caleb, what do you think?
If you look back, you're gonna lament and feel bad for them.
Well, no, here's the truth. Y'all are close, but listen. Looking back was a sign that you still want to live there. Meaning, I'm not ready to let go of this sinful city. I love living there. I love being a part of that, even though I know it's wrong. So Lot's wife looking back wasn't about, I just want to observe what's going on. I'm sure it's bright. It was about, I want to go back. I don't want to leave. My heart is with this city and its sin. I don't want to let go of that. Guys, can I make this relevant for you personally? For those in here who have accepted Christ, you know, in your life, you shouldn't be looking back to your old one. You know, Jesus actually tells us the same thing. He's like, if you're working out in the fields and you're putting your hand to the plow and you're pushing forward on that plow, you don't look back. You're pushing forward. Jesus himself, I need y'all to, no. What, if they need to go to the restroom, let them go to the restroom. Don't distract them and talk. You should not be looking back at past sin that God saved you from. That past lifestyle. And some of you guys, listen, here's the truth. You allow your friends and other people in your life who are not Christian to have a huge influence on your life. Just like Lot and his family living in the city they really shouldn't have been in, being around the people they shouldn't have been around. Lot's wife should have never looked back. God is sparing you and bringing you to safety. He's getting you out of the mess. He's getting you away from the sin. He's trying to spare you from the destruction that happens with people that live that way. But then, man, as Christians today, sometimes don't we look back? Don't we go, man, but I miss this sin. Hey, man, but I miss being close to this friend, even though that friend is a horrible, toxic influence in my life. But it's kind of fun being around him, though. I kind of enjoy joking and laughing at things that I shouldn't even be hearing. Guys, you have to just as much not look back on your past life as Lot and his family shouldn't have looked back at Sodom. So the looking back was a heart thing, not a oh, you can't look at the destruction. It was don't desire to return. That's an evil place. So evil that God has to kill everybody there. Nobody there is worth saving. That's so evil. And to want to go back to that, what kind of heart do you think Lot's wife had? What kind of things do you think she was involved in that maybe Lot didn't know about? There's some serious questions we could be asking about why she wanted to go back, but the Bible doesn't tell us. It just tells us that she did. Okay? So then it says in verse 27, it says kind of cutting over to Abraham's perspective. Remember, because Lot and his family are the ones that got saved, but Abraham is the one that begged God to spare Sodom. And it says, and Abraham got up early in the morning, and it says, where he stood before the Lord, and he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah and towards all the land of the plains, and beheld the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. There's so much fire and smoke that it's like take the smoke that you would see at a normal outdoor bonfire and multiply that many, many times over, and there's just smoke everywhere. Like it's just massive destruction. In verse 29, it says, and it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham, and so essentially that's why he saved Lot and his family. Lot and his family were righteous enough to earn God's mercy, right? And it says, so God remembered Abraham and saved Lot and his family when he overthrew and destroyed the cities in which Lot dwelt. So that's the full story right there. And by the way, and something I want to point out, we're almost done here, by the way. It's a pretty short lesson tonight, because the Bible kind of explains itself. Something important that gets overlooked about this is there are people out there today that don't like the fact that the Bible specifically condemns the sin of homosexuality. They don't like that. So they try to find ways to rewrite that part of the Bible. They'll go, oh, no, the Bible doesn't condemn like men having sex with men. It only condemns adult men doing things with minors or something. But then you go, okay, well, what about Sodom and Gomorrah? No. There's another verse in the Bible somewhere. It says that the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was other things. It was that they were mean or that they were whatever. And in fact, I want to read that verse real quick. In the book of Ezekiel. You don't have to turn there or anything, but if you want to write it down, Ezekiel chapter 16 talks about this. So this is thousands of years after the event. But this guy who's writing in Ezekiel, he's talking about the past, and he says, talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, and he says, behold, this was the sin of thy sister Sodom. And he lists off several things, several reasons why God destroyed them. Look at the first one, pride. Pride. Guys, we have an entire month in this country called Pride Month, celebrating the sin of homosexuality. Pride is what leads people to rebel against God in any way, including that sin. Pride, and it says, and they were filled with bread, meaning that they were greedy, they were gluttonous, they overate. And it says, and in an abundance of laziness, her and her daughters did not strengthen or help the poor and the needy. So there's several things. There's pride, there's gluttony, there's not helping the poor and the needy. And look at what it says in verse 50. It says, and they were haughty, meaning they were arrogant, and they committed abominations before the Lord. Guys, there's a sin in the Bible that gets categorized as an abomination. Do y'all know what it is? The sin of homosexuality, sexual perversion, rape, all of those, any form of sexual sin is an abomination to God. It's a perversion of His creation. And so there it says, therefore, I, the Lord, took them away as I saw good. And if that's not enough, if you still think that's, no, maybe it was the gluttony, maybe it was these other things, maybe it wasn't the homosexual thing, maybe it was something else. There's another passage in the Bible. It says Jude chapter 1, verse 7. And here is what it says about Sodom and Gomorrah. It says, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner gave themselves over to sexual sin and went after strange flesh and set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Strange flesh means not having sex with the opposite sex. How the thing matches with this other thing on the opposite sex. strange flesh is going after the same sex. That's strange. It's perverted to God. So every time Sodom and Gomorrah is mentioned in the Bible, in Genesis 19, in Ezekiel, and in Jude, sexual sin is always brought up. There's no way to get around that. Now, is that the only reason they were judged? Was because of that sin? No. So don't ever think that like the whole story of Sodom and Gomorrah, all we need to know is that being gay is bad, living a gay lifestyle is bad. Hey, so is being lazy. Hey, so is not taking care of the poor and the needy. So is being prideful in any way. All of those things are sinful to God. And when a nation is engaging in those sins and refuses to stop doing them, eventually God will judge that nation. And in the case of Sodom and Gomorrah, it was so great that only less than 10 people were found worthy enough for God to spare. That's pretty sad. And guys, listen, I hope and pray that America never gets to that level of evil where people are showing up at your doorstep and demanding your family members. I hope that's not the case. But guys, can I tell you, in a nation that rejects God, it's going to get there eventually unless we turn it around. There's no way back. Remember I said last week about how for all animals, if somebody believes they're an animal, they're eventually going to act like it? Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. That's pretty animalistic behavior. And so all this to say, I've gotten through the biblical story, but I want to share with y'all an interesting detail. Recently, like these historians, you know what kind of people those are? They study history. And then you have archaeologists. These are people that look at like artifacts. They will find things. They'll find fossils and ancient swords and art and all the rest. Archaeologists like dig up things, right? Yeah. Archaeologists recently have discovered at the site where they historically believe Sodom and Gomorrah were located, all around this area, balls of pure sulfur. All around it. Guys, there is nowhere on earth outside of this site that anything is pure sulfur. Anytime we find sulfur, it's mixed in with other chemicals and other things. It's never pure. You have to like extract it and do all this stuff to make it pure. Do it in a lab. Pure, balls of pure sulfur all over the field where they believe the city used to be. In addition to that, the bodies that were buried in the ground, like people who were already dead and buried, the bones had warped due to the heat. And scientifically speaking, bones in your body do not warp due to heat unless it's heated up. I'm talking to the heat of nearly a nuclear explosion.
That's how hot it was.
They didn't have nukes thousands of years ago. This was a supernatural event. And not only does the Bible tell us it happened, we have historical evidence literally proving this was supernatural. So I need y'all to know that. I got to visit the area that Sodom, when I went to Israel about 4 or 5 years ago, I got to go on a trip with some of my family. We went to have you ever heard of the Dead Sea? You ever heard of the Dead Sea before? Yeah. It's a body of water, has so much salt in it that you literally just float on it. It's really bizarre. Yes, I did go in the Dead Sea. If you drink any of the water, you might die. But in a certain area where the Dead Sea is, they believe that that's actually where Sodom and Gomorrah was located. 2 things about that. It's the lowest point on earth. Like on ground level, it's literally, you know how like you have like mountains, okay? On ground level, it's literally the lowest point on planet Earth. There's something symbolic about that these people are so morally low that it kind of matches the environment they were in. And then on top of that, think about the Dead Sea for a second. The Dead Sea is the saltiest place, and there's nothing that can live in it. It's called dead because nothing can survive in it. And you think about Lot's wife. Y'all starting to make the connections now?
Yes.
Pillar of salt, Dead Sea, saltiest body of water, nothing can survive in it. Do you think God's making a point? Y'all think God made his point about what he thinks about these kinds of sins and these kinds of lifestyles? That's how seriously God takes it. And so all that to say, this is a artistic rendition of Lot and his daughters, and it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if that was, the artist is meant to doing a lightning strike. I added the blue because the 180 colors. But that's meant to symbolize God himself striking down and turning his wife there at the bottom left into a pillar of salt. I don't know. I mean, in the background kind of looks like a nuke going off. I'm not going to lie. But that's probably what it looked like. I mean, if you're putting in perspective what God can do and what he did do, it probably was worse than any nuclear explosion that has actually happened. God made His point, and nothing can live there to this day. No natural wildlife, no plant life. It is dead, dead, dead. Not even in the water. Okay, no, not like you. Okay, Caitlin has been patiently waiting. What? Do you have a question or a comment?
The three sins things you said, that was homosexuality, what else?
Pride, laziness.
No, I'm talking about the ones that don't, the other ones that you were talking about, the homosexuality.
I know.
The sexual,
The ones that were listed for Sodom and Gomorrah?
no, the other ones that you listed.
All of the stuff that I listed was for Sodom and
No,
Gomorrah.
like the like major ones.
I
I don't
yeah.
know what they were, but one of them was like sexual rape, and the other one was
Well, yeah, attempted rape.
yeah.
That's apparently normal in their cultures to rape people who come and visit.
Homosexuality. And
Homosexuality. Well, all of the sins that all of the sins that I mentioned, all of them are serious. All of them are serious. Caitlin, all of the sins that were mentioned were serious. All of them.
I was trying to ask what the second one was, but I didn't know it.
I mentioned more than 3. But anyway,
But she told me.
y'all can go back and read it if you need to remember it. Caleb, daughter.
What was the chapter of Jude?
Jude chapter 1, verse 7. Well, there's only one chapter in Jude. It's a one-chapter book, but verse 7 in Jude. Charles.
Okay, earlier I was trying to add something to
Yeah.
you saying homosexuality is wrong.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly what Bible verse it is, but it says something like if you lay with a man as you would a woman, you will be considered
You get-
an abomination.
Yes.
And therefore put to death.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
The 3 abominations.
Yeah, abomination. So any form of sexual sin, God lists that under abomination.
Yeah.
Or especially things like rape, like sex with animals, bestiality. It's an abomination. It's so perverted, so unnatural that God. It's an all of it's a sin. All of it is making you deserving of punishment before God. But those in particular are unnatural perversions, things that shouldn't even be in your mind when you sin. So it's a step more in terms of being unnatural. So, okay, if y'all don't have any more questions or comments, and now's your time. By the way, and y'all are free to come to me. And I have some of the videos that I saw about the recent discoveries are really interesting. Do y'all want me to send those to you in the group chat so y'all can watch them on your own time? They're not super long, but it's really fascinating. Okay, I'm gonna have somebody pray us out, and then when y'all, after we get done praying, quickly grab your food, and then we're going over to the brick building to do our game.
Is it decorated?
Yes. Yes.
We're having
The building across the parking lot, and we're going to play a game over there.
What are we playing?
Shh. I need somebody to pray. I am going to have,
I will also.
I'm going to choose somebody who doesn't normally pray. And remember, nobody can say no. Didn't-
5 weeks. Remember?
Have you done it before, though? Okay, if you haven't done it before, good. Dorothy's going to pray for us. So everybody,
Uh-oh.
it's annoying, isn't it? Ask Caitlin how she feels about me calling her Kaylee. Gabby is going to pray for us. All right, so you bow your heads, close your eyes, and show respect. Go ahead.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Amen.
Amen.